So, welcome to another episode of On the Mic with Ed. You're here with myself, Maria Ortiz, and co host Dr. Zoe Rossnash. We also have Dr. Jennifer Nardozzi today, or Dr. Jen, and she is actually the founder of the Food and Body program. So, we are so excited to have her here. Today, we're going to be talking about a holistic lens for eating disorder care, and Dr. Jen is just absolutely the person to do it. So, we are so excited. And I'd love to hear a little bit more from you, Dr. Jen, on what brought you on this podcast, what you're hoping to get across today.
Oh, well, thank you both for having me. I just think these conversations are just so important to have and to educate people about all the options there are for healing and treatment. I think sometimes we don't always know like all the options. And something I always say is that there's like lots of different, thank God there are lots of different ways up this recovery mountain, right? And so the food and body program is one option for people. So I just would love to, I can share a little bit about why I even created this. So, I always say that the first half of my career, I started off in a residential treatment center for eating disorders, and it was amazing. It was amazing to learn from these clients about what they really needed to start getting better on that healing journey. And then when eventually I stepped out into my own practice, I was seeing that there were clients who really needed something a bit more intensive, but maybe they didn't need the treatment center model, but they needed something that was going to hold them, support them, provide more community, and provided a team that were like really working together. And so that's really where the space of the food and body program, like I say, it's between the residential model and like your more traditional outpatient. So that's sort of the space of where we land. And the other thing I just would say is that after all these years of doing this work is it's like the toughest job you'll ever love. And Maria and Zoe, I think you could relate to this. Like people are not usually maybes when they're working in this space. Like they're either you love it and you're going to keep learning and growing with your clients, or it's like, I'm not doing this anymore. So I do feel very blessed to love the work I'm doing and, working with an amazing team and then collaborating with, wonderful professionals. It's truly a gift.
It sounds like you just created such an incredible container for clients in this in-between of
Mm.
levels of care. And I can feel your passion through your screen. And yes, like you,
Mhm.
you gotta have a full body, yes, when you're working with this community.
Mhm.
But I feel
Mhm.
like this word holistic can be confusing. So I would like to
Yeah.
know a little bit more about what actually does your program do? What does it look like and how does it differ from other approaches?
Yeah, that's like such a good question. I'm like, what does that mean, holistic? I mean, the way I interpret that is we're really providing whole person care, right? And I started off talking about the treatment center, and the wonderful thing with the treatment center is that it was so intensive. So you're living with the clients, there were points in the time I was there because I did so many different jobs. I was eating with the clients. I was doing snacks with the clients. Like it was so intensive. So our program's a little different where we're on the journey for a minimum of a year with our clients. So, one thing that I find is so valuable is really not only helping them sort of transform their relationship with food and body, right? Like trying to get through this eating disorder once and for all. But a big part of our mission is helping them create their joyful, fulfilling life. Like, what's beyond this eating disorder, right? Like, what's calling you to actually want to heal, want to get better? And so when I say that idea of holistic, it's like whole person, right? Yes, we're going to talk about food. Yes, we're going to talk about your medical doctor and what the labs are saying and what that's important. We take that very seriously, nutritionally, emotionally, psychologically, spiritually, whatever that means for the person. But it's really like treating the whole person. And the beauty of the work we get to do is we're with them such a long time. And so we get to really kind of look at all those aspects. Like sometimes we think of it like a diamond, like there's all these different facets of their diamond, and some of those facets have gotten a little like little clouded, a little dim because of the eating disorder. And so we're kind of polishing those different sides to really have somebody kind of shine their brightest. And so that's my definition for today. Like, yeah, if you ask me another day, I might have but that's what came to mind for me.
I think that that just identifies even with the holistic model of like it's a fluid response, right?
Huh?
But I also think it's great that you're identifying this idea of that, yes, we want people to, improve in their relationship with food and body, but we want them to love their life, not even just love, engage fully with their life, be present
Mm,
fully, find their life worth living, all of these big existential points. And I think that a lot of that makes it easier to fight too. Once people love what they're fighting for or are invested with what they're fighting for, and you identify that this takes longevity. So
mm,
sometimes people are like, well, I've been upset with my body and food for years and years and years, but why
mhm,
hasn't this couple months of therapy, really done the trick? And I
mhm,
love that you just set the precedent of like at least a year, showing
mhm.
that like this is a huge encompassing issue. And also the holistic approach should take that long to show that we're not rushing, to
Yeah.
show that we're tailoring to each facet, right? So I think that that is just awesome, the way that you
Mm,
even just approach this work.
mm,
So I am curious, when you
yeah.
talk about the holistic lens, are there any kind of like in your face differences or nuances to this approach from a standard sort of eating disorder
Mm,
treatment and recovery?
yeah. You know, the one thing that really comes to mind that was really purposeful on like my part and the team's part when we were creating this is we actually do have a dedicated person we call her our holistic life coach.
Hmm.
And she's a beautiful soul on this planet. Everybody should have a Joanne. So I'm going to give a little shout out to Joanne Kane. But she has, geez, I may get it wrong, but let's just say over 20 years of experience in the yoga, spiritual, meditative, holistic practices space. And she really embodies, I mean, like everybody on this team, like we really do our own work so we can make a difference for our clients. So let me say something about Joanne, and then I'll say something about doing our own work. So she works with our clients not from jump because we do start them off with like therapy, nutrition, but usually by the third month, we have them working with Joanne and really starting to dig deeper and starting to explore what does that mean holistic or what does that mean spiritual? Like, and I can't really remember in maybe other treatment we did some of that at the treatment center. It was actually something that I kind of brought to the treatment center, sort of this holistic spiritual aspect. But that was really purposeful, is like we think that's important and we're going to give energy and you're going to have dedicated sessions to looking at that aspect of who you are. So that's one thing. The other thing that I do think makes us unique is we have our own coach as a team. So our coach is amazing. Like she's a wonderful human being. And so all of us are doing trainings every month. And then we do our own retreat as a team. And so again, the retreat tends to be very holistic. One of the last things we did at our retreat is we made these really cool Native American medicine pouches together. I mean, it was like, what are we doing here? But it was super interesting. So, we're also looking at, our relationship with food, our relationship with our emotions. What does it mean? Like, where are we on our spiritual journey? Because I'm a big believer that we can only take our clients as far as we're willing to go. Right. So again, like we had that coach from the very beginning. I work with her individually. She works with us as a team. We do these deeper things with our retreats, and every single person is engaging in that work. So it's like you're really not just talking the talk with our clients, like we're walking on that same path, that same conscious journey.
I really appreciate the way that you defined a holistic approach because eating disorders just expand so much farther than a biopsychosocial like
Mhm.
model. It
Mhm.
is spiritual, it is embodiment, it is relational. So I love the approach that you're taking. And
Mhm.
when you use this holistic lens, it's almost like an unfolding into rather than an outcome-based experience. And that is exactly what eating disorder treatment needs. to live in it, to be in it. And I love that you are walking the walk and talking the talk with your treatment team because you're right, we have to be modeling what it looks like to be a human in our body because it's difficult and there's so many contextual factors that impact our ability to walk through this life. And I just am loving hearing about your program.
Thank you, Zoe. And I love the words you use. I love that word of contextual. That's such a beautiful word. And
Isn't it?
how did you say in the beginning that you said
Ooh.
that unfolding or something, the way you said that is because I do think there's like I think ideally what we're trying to do is like really get them connected from the inside, right? Like that's really their biggest guide is like starting to hear that authentic voice. That doesn't always happen, right? From the first month of treatments, first month of treatment, maybe you're like we are working kind of on that meal plan, but ideally we're really trying to get them connected from the inside out and that they are starting to see that they're their biggest guide, like we can help guide you, and you have a guide within you, right? Like you have that still small voice. You have that intuition that is really going to be with you your whole life, and it can really guide you. And I think the only other thing that I would say about this journey, another way that I talk is, you're always unpeeling this onion, right? Like there's always layers. I mean, for all of us, right? Like, does the work ever stop? Like, as soon as I think I have something handled, I'm like, ah, damn, there's like another layer. I thought I like finished that onion. You're like, oh yeah, there's another layer. And I'm thinking about a client I worked with yesterday, and she's come so far in the time we've worked together, and she's like, "Damn, but that body image and those comparisons." I'm like, "Yeah, it's just that kind of angst is also showing you that's the next level of the work, right? That's the thing that's irritating you. It's like the rub, like, okay, that's where we're going. There's just another layer that we're unpeeling right now."
I love the joining with the clients too. How it's not just like we are these like perfect beings helping
Mhm.
guide people through this world. No, no, no. We understand the onion. We've all got our own onion, right? And I think
Yeah.
it's so great that in this holistic lens too, it almost seems like I don't know if you guys were taught this, but it was like be very cautious with self-disclosure. You're a
Mhm.
blank slate. You are not supposed to admit you too have an onion, right? And I love that you're just like I am a human. I'm a mind, body, and a spirit, just
Mhm.
as the person in front of me. And I think that's the echo I'm hearing the most too is this mind, body, spirit. In
Mhm.
standard eating disorder care, we constantly are talking about the mind and the body,
Mhm.
always. And
Yeah.
I love that we are encompassing all three. And I also heard you say the word voice and finding that authentic and true voice. And what it made me think of immediately was the true voice within that's kind of been stifled by the societal voice around us, maybe by our loved ones' voices.
Yeah.
But I think it would take some digging. Like that onion's got some layers to find that
Mhm.
authentic voice again
Yeah.
and really feel like it comes from within.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, for sure. Like, and I love what you said about like we're real people and we're on this journey too. And I will say, I think on our team, we appropriately use that disclosing, right? Because there are some people on our team that really have gone through their own eating disorder treatment, and they use that in a way to not, not just to share for the sake of sharing, but to really share in a way of like, I do understand. Like I don't have maybe your exact path because everybody has their own path, but to say, hey, like it is possible to really get through this, to be fully recovered, and to live your joyful, fulfilling life. So I do think that's important. I always think about this client who I worked with, and like she made so much progress. Like it was just unbelievable where she started and was very ill and in hospitals, and then like where she moved to and finishing college and just really starting to create her life. And I remember asking her, I was like, but what made the biggest difference in the therapy? Like I really not just like, hey, stroke Dr. Jen, but I was like, if I could help other clients get that, like what did she get along the way? And I remember one of the things she said, she was like, Dr. Jen, like you were just a real person and you would like sometimes talk about your dog. I'm like, oh my God, like I talked about my dog. But I think the point being was like, you were just like a real person, sort of like showing me your life and your dog's here and like kind of like, oh, like not doing this kind of like power thing, like, hey, we're gonna be here together walking. But that always like, I mean, that was years ago when I asked her that, but that really stuck out for me, that how important that is to be like real person. Yes, we have boundaries, of course, but like being such a real person, because I think these clients really get when you're not. Like they are sensitive beings in general. And so I get that. So I don't know if I answered your question, Maria. So if you want to ask me that again, but that's just what came to mind. So feel free if there's a follow-up question there too.
No, I loved even just that affirmation of just showing that that individual was like, thank you for being human and for being a human with me
Mhm.
in this
Oh
office
yeah.
space. And I think that that goes a really, really long way. We can talk about modalities all day long on the mic with X, Y, and Z, but on the mic with a human that cares is really the biggest thing, I think, as well. So, with these sort of like contextual, like theoretical thoughts that come with the holistic lens, there's some very real physical implications that come alongside an eating disorder.
Oh yeah.
Examples might be struggles with hunger, fullness, bodily sensations, and how they coincide with emotions. How does the holistic lens approach those sort of physical presentations?
Yeah. So I'm going to go back to that thing I said about connecting from the inside, right? Because I think such an important part, especially even early on, is starting to reconnect with the hungers, right? And so many of our clients, and I'm sure with you as well in your practices, is that clients usually come in and maybe across the board, they'll say, I don't feel my hunger anymore, or I feel numb. That's another big one that we, especially at the treatment center, is like numb, numb. I don't feel anything. I don't. So I think pretty early on, we're really trying to have them starting to connect with that hunger. Now, that's not going to come back right away, but what starts having that come back is starting to begin to connect with the food, right? Starting to have that, I'm going to say rhythm, something our wonderful nutritionist always says, Dr. Vaughn, of like starting to create those meals and then, putting in those snacks. And then what starts happening is the body's like, oh my gosh, I'm going to start talking to you again. Like, oh, they're feeding me. Now we're going to start having this communication. And I think if we're disconnected, we're going to miss those cues. So I think, again, trying to connect from the inside out and starting to put in some of those structures, because I think that's really key. And we're really big in practicing. Like, this is all a practice. Like you're gonna slip, you're gonna make mistake. No, you're not gonna get it, but we don't want you to get it perfect. We want you to struggle with us, right? Like we're here to struggle with you this entire year. And actually, our clients even ask us, will you please create a second year? We don't want the same like intensity, but will you create a step down? So we actually do have a step down year because the clients asked us to like continue with them. So for some of the clients, they continue on in that way. But that's what comes to mind is like starting to reconnect really with those physical sensations and thinking about somebody just this past week, one of our younger clients, and she was really honest, like, oh my gosh, I was feeling so dizzy. And I didn't want to tell you guys, and I definitely didn't want to tell my parents, right? And now that I'm, more present to myself, I can feel myself more. Now that I'm eating, like, whoa, I know the difference between dizzy and not dizzy. Oh, I can like walk now further without feeling winded. And now I know the difference because I'm starting to tune into myself, like my physical sensations. So I think that's another piece. It's like, what are the physical sensations that your body is communicating? What emotionally are you feeling? Like starting to get the nuances of all that's inside of us. And the eating disorder really, right, it has us live up here and disconnect from all of that information, right? It's like this thing is really trying to guide us. And if we're disconnecting from it, like we're missing that really valuable information.
eating disorders really just create such disconnection. I actually call them disorders of disconnection, whether it's socially, within our body. And
Mm,
the holistic approach integrates all of it and creates the movement, the attunement to your experiences. This
mhm.
is totally from left field. And if you don't have an answer on this, it's very okay. It's just my own curiosity.
Sure.
The wellness influencer community has sort of weaponized this word of holistic, and they're selling supplements and they're selling programs that
Yeah.
often feel like eating disorder is just packaged within wellness.
Mm,
How do you help clients
yeah.
discern between true holistic
Yeah.
approaches and ones that might be damaging? So sorry if
Yeah.
that's like,
No, no. You
yeah.
know what? That has come up with Dr. Vaughn and I, the nutritionist, nutritionist on the team. We have another wonderful nutritionist who does meal support. But we've had this conversation because we're actually in the process of editing our first book, which is really exciting. And whenever I put like wellness in there, she's like, I don't like that word because, and I like that word wellness, but it's based on kind of what you're saying. It's like how that word has, oh, I don't know, somehow gotten a little turned around or holistic. Like, ooh, like what does that actually mean? Like what does that mean out in the world? So, and again, I'm thinking of clients, so I'm thinking about somebody else that she's pretty new to working with us and working with our team, but it's a little tricky because, right, like some of these health practices, right, like, oh, but I'm being healthy because, well, I'm going to the gym, I'm moving every day. Well, isn't that healthy? Like, well, if I wasn't doing that, then what would I be doing? Then am I lazy if I'm not, and so, and then of course you get a lot of positive reinforcement for that of like, ooh, you're so disciplined. You're moving your body every day. And it's like, well, are you allowed to take rest days? No, right? Like, so I think how I would start working like with, especially like a new client like that is also seeing like what's the intention behind it. Like if that client was like, well, yeah, I move my body every day. Sometimes I go to the gym. Sometimes I'm just walking my dog around the neighborhood. Oh, it was raining, so I took the day off. Like I would be looking at the intention underneath why they're doing what they're doing, or also starting to deconstruct the words they might be using. So if they're using wellness, like what does wellness mean to them, or what is holistic, like you guys like my definition of holistic, but what would somebody else like, what's the meaning of that for them, and starting to understand what's behind that. And is it something that is these practices or these words, are they actually empowering the person, right? Like when we started like gently trying to like talk about this movement thing with this one client who was like, no days off. Like you could hear that the very black and white. It was like, whoa, there is just no room for flexibility. So already our little like, it's like, is this really serving you? And like maybe sometimes it is, but when is it not? And can we start balancing your real commitment to your health with like some flexibility? Like we're not going to take all this away, but can we like soften it? Can we add something? So that's what's coming up, Zoe. There's my long answer for you.
I appreciate it.
I loved that answer. And Zoe, when you asked that question, I kind of like sat comfortably. I was like, I'm ready for this because that was such a good point to bring up. Because it absolutely is weaponized. And the biggest answer I thought of immediately was where is the intention coming from? Like Dr. Jen said, and
Yeah.
also though, what is the education behind what you're learning and how does it make you feel?
Hmm.
So Dr. Jen comes from a model of like lots of education and history and investment into this time and work and engagement through a like recovery focused lens. Whoever you just scrolled past on Instagram, I don't know if they can say those things. And it doesn't mean that there can't be people without those accolades. But I think there is something to what is the source of the information here? And what does that individual even have to gain? I think it's a scary dynamic, as Zoe points out, that these are disorders of disconnection. And where can people find so much connection? Social media, this new holistic group that just started every Monday through
Wow.
Rigidity with somebody else. And so I think it's just so important that it's kind of like this unknown of like, I thought I was doing well. And some of this stuff comes down to I didn't know. It was mentioned kind of how people are like, I think I'm fine. Like you'll ask people, aren't you tired? No. Later, they're like, how was I living like that? I was
Right.
so fatigued. And so
Right.
much of this is actually just even relearning what normal is, and people adjust to that normal.
Yeah.
So, in this process, we look at I'm struggling and how do I move forward? It's easy for our perfectionistic clients to look at themselves as a problem to be fixed.
Mhm.
How do you shift that language to more so just learning to care for their system and its needs?
Yeah. Word that's coming up is how do we have compassion for ourselves, right? Like, I mean, it's one I'm always working on, right? It's like balancing the, wanting to do the best job I can and then balancing it with like compassion for my humanity, right? Like mistakes are going to be part of it, right? Like it's funny today I had this thought when I was in my exercise class and like at one point I was like the wrong way in the class, right? Like it was like a dance class, and I'm like, I'm even the wrong way right now. And I was like, wow, what about if I could take on in 2026 making as many mistakes as I possibly can and being fine with it? Like, what would that mean for me? That would mean I am really swinging out. Like, I am just playing full out. I'm trying all kinds of things. I'm making so many mistakes. Sometimes I'm like the wrong way in the class. Okay. So I think one of the things I talk a lot about with clients is like bringing that compassion, and then we're always practicing, right? Like we're gonna we're gonna mess up, we're gonna have slips, and okay, what did we learn from those times that we feel like we, made a mistake, right? Like that's usually when I look at my own life, like gosh, those times where I really feel like I had setbacks or something went wrong, it's like usually those were the times of the greatest learning. So, and I think this metaphor is probably in the eating disorder world, but like sometimes you're pulling the arrow back and you seem like you're going back to go forward. So it's like really, those are some of I tend to think in a lot of the visual, but those are some of the concepts that I kind of bring to the space with the clients and the work.
Yeah, building this tolerance to rejection allows clients to reclaim their lives, not just reduce symptoms, because that's what we want with our clients. We want them to have this full life. And when we model that, as we discussed in this podcast, the importance of talking about your dog, and when we bring that into treatment, we're not just reducing eating disorder symptoms, we're bringing fullness back into life.
Mhm.
We are at time though, so I want to give one last like moment for you to share anything else that you find important or you want our listeners to know.
Hmm. Well, I want to say to people, you don't have to do this alone. Like you're today hearing a conversation, and the three of us are really dedicated to this work. There's all kinds of help. I think it's really important to find the fit for you, that feels right. And you know what I always say to people, like, if somebody comes to me, sometimes people are coming to me because I'm supposed to work with them, the team and my team's supposed to work with them. Sometimes I'm helping somebody get to their next step, like I'm a stepping stone. So I think what I want to say to listeners, like if there's anything I can do to be of service to you in any way, you can reach out to me. You can find me on fabprogram.com, and I'm on Psychology Today, social media, so feel free to reach out if I can help you personally or get you to your next right and perfect step.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Jen. It was such an incredible conversation and hearing about your program that's just really bending the ideas of what eating disorder treatment should look like. So thank you again for being on the mic with us. Wherever
Yes.
you are, whoever you are, take a seat with us.